Hello, welcome to Landscapes. It's going to be a real radio show today because I have a guest with me, Spencer. Hi, Spencer.
Hi. Yeah, thank you so much for having me here once again.
It's a pleasure. So, yeah, I heard the new album that it came out recently from your project. Can you tell me a little bit about it?
Yeah, so basically, this solo project is this project that I have for a very long time now, since 2012. It was in my let's say my early years in Lisbon because I'm from Beja, Alentejo, and I've been here since 2010. And in these early years, I think as a way to fill my spare time between study and all of that, and since always been, the music has always been an element that's been in the forefront of my life. And um and I think that at that moment wasn't really active project wise. I had a few projects, but I wanted to use that spare time at home, and I started to experiment some stuff with my electric guitar and my sampler. It started to be like this instrument, and it still is an instrumental stuff. This was a way to also kind of a challenge to see what could I do on an individual level. And also because I never liked to be restrained to any kind of musical languages, it was a way of like experimenting, not only for myself, but allowing myself to have a large creative freedom within this aspect, of just playing guitars and playing electronics. But then with the studies and with my most recent project, Mazarin, the band that I was in from 2016
Oh, wow.
till recently, that occupied a lot of time. And also, even though I had already released some demos in 2015 and 2019, um, this was always kind of like a very slow process, because by the time I finished that second demo, I was kind of like, okay, where can I go to next? It was mostly just electric guitar and sampler, and I started to incorporate other stuff, like synthesizer and the electric,
Mm-hmm.
the classical guitar.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to understand what could be the next step, and in a more consolidated kind of way, because it was still very raw material. And also the fact that I am a person who tends to procrastinate a lot. So being in a solo in a solo context, it's completely different from a band context, because you don't have like the rest of the people, depending on each people, they all depend on the other people. So in this individual challenge, it was always kind of like, okay, I'll let it pass, let's see. And then I started to create some mechanisms to be like, okay, let's make this happen. And that's when I started to create the repertoire that was in this first proper album called Vale, which means valley or hill,
Mm-hmm.
because uh, even though I didn't have like this unifying concept for all the tracks that ended up on the album, it still shares this kind of like, freeform stuff. But it so happened that at the time that I was doing these tracks, they all kind of shared. I've been very into doing more, regardless of the genre and the influences, always very textural stuff, and very relying on kind of a sonic element, and especially using echoes. So to say, that I use a lot of reverb and delay. It's
Mm-hmm.
almost, I mean, it's present throughout all of the record, even though they one or another may differ from the next one or the previous one. The fact of the matter is that they all shared like this echoey echoey kind of register, and that's why I decided to name Val in a way and it's also the name of the title track, because I think that it kind of encapsulated
Hmm.
reverb emotion that is present throughout the whole album, and basically that's how it happened.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's beautiful. I've heard it in Passivit.
Yeah.
Was it a couple months ago?
Yeah, yeah,
Right? When yeah.
yeah, exactly. The album the album was launched in the beginning of February,
Mhm,
and I had already played in Passviten, and you were
mhm,
there as well.
mhm,
That time it was in 2000 and yeah, at the end of 2024, yeah, and it made sense for me to do the to you know to do the presentation of the album live in that place, because the scenario is very suitable for the kind of music that I'm playing at least at the moment, because it is the gallery space of Passvit. It's funny because well, they the kind of whether it's DJ sets or live acts or whatever that's happening there, it's always in a contemplative kind of mood,
mhm. Yeah.
and they make the best effort to make that kind of evident in like the in a visual setting, because they have like warm lighting, and everybody's like sitting down on beanbag chairs and stuff like that, and everybody's like chill and quiet. So I already had that experience the first time I played there, so it was kind of like, yeah, this is the perfect register for me to do the presentation, and that's exactly what it happened. I felt like there was like this comfy, this warmth that made sense with the repertoire that I was playing.
Yeah, it felt like we're at home, right? Like a
Yeah,
like a living room.
yeah, exactly,
Yeah, yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
Yeah,
So I think let's hear the one of the songs, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
This is from the album Val, called Azul.
Yeah, Azul, Azul, exactly.
Beautiful track.
Thank you so
Congratulations.
much.
um, I was curious, and I'd like to know who else is involved, if anyone, in the project.
So this has always been I in the same way that I always composed and played on an individual level. Like I said, it was kind of like a challenge for doing this in the DIY kind of setting. Uh, Basically, the same thing kind of happened when I did this album. I remember when I aside from like the first shows that I did with this project that were like many years ago, in which the live acts were, I also had the help of a bassist from Beja called Miguel Ferro. Aside from that, I always did it on my own, and in this record was kind of like the same. Basically, I recorded everything, and I mean, I played and I recorded it everything, and I did have some valuable help from, especially from one friend. He's a sound technician, a DJ, and producer. He also has a show in here, if I'm not mistaken, Astria. He's uh, uh, he's a good friend of mine, and he and I already asked him if he could do it, and he was very excited and cool with it. So he did the mixes and the mastering of the record, and with the exception of one track that the mixing was done by another good friend of mine, João Romão, who is the drummer of the band that I was involved with. He was the drummer of Mazarin.
Hmm.
But yeah, they were very very helpful, because even though I had already studied musical production, I never actually pursued that, so my notions are really kind of outdated. So yeah, it was really important. But I mean, even though I try to do as much as I can on a solo record, it's also cool to have the help from people that I trust, and that are good friends of mine.
Thank you. And the name T204, or in
Yeah,
Portuguese,
yeah, yeah,
exatamente.
yeah.
Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, there's not too much to say about that, because I I always had a problem naming stuff, naming projects, naming tracks and stuff like that. Basically, what happened was there was a friend of mine in Beja that he had like this kind of I don't know if in English they say graphic diary, the diário gráfico, which they used to know people from visual arts
Oh, like
use
a
it to
sketchbook.
make, yeah, sketchbook,
Uh-huh.
yeah, exactly, to do, so yeah, to do some drawings, some
Hmm.
sketches, stuff like that. And he had that sketchbook, and I think it was the name of the sketchbook, and the brand, I think it was, and it said Triunfo 204.
Hmm.
And I thought it was an interesting name. I don't remember if that happened before or after I started to do the first compositions of the project. All I know is that I saw that name, and I was kind of like, that would actually would sound kind of cool, and I shortened it to T204, especially because I remember there was also some musicians who used the electronic instruments, like in the 2000s and stuff like that. They tended to use numbers and stuff like that in their monikers. So I think it was, I like the name. And then when I was starting to, kind of like starting to finish the first ideas for this project, I thought, okay, this could have a name. Maybe that would be it. I remember that name, and I just use it. That's because like I said, naming stuff is really hard for
I
me.
get
Yeah.
it. I get it. I mean, visually it looks great. I was just curious about this part. And on a little bit more serious note, so I know that a lot of musicians are struggling these days
Yeah.
in Portugal in the industry. But however, there's a lot of beautiful new music that keeps coming out.
Mhm.
So I just wanted to ask, what keeps you going?
What keeps me going? Well, like I said earlier, I've no, I think that ever since I was a kid, and that music always had a huge, a profound impact on my life. I can honestly say that it's a vital part of my life. I can't imagine my
Hmm.
life without music,
Yeah.
and this applies in any kind of, like listening to music. For me, I mean, I do need to listen to music on a daily basis. Um, Sometimes the mood isn't there, or something like that, but it is an essential part of me. And so, in the same way that I love to listen to music, even though, like I said, I tend to procrastinate and I have my like own insecurities and
Hmm.
anxieties, but
Hmm.
for me to not play music would also be something frustrating to me. So I really want to keep going. I have no idea if I can ever make a steady income out of this,
Yeah.
because we do realize that this is applicable to, I mean, in basically almost any kind of professional sector of the in today's generations, but in the cultural area and the artistic expressions, we all know how especially precarious it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I have no idea, and I do realize that it's hard, making original music and instrumental music. With Mazarin, we already had that problem also, instrumental music and original, and it's very hard. The venues are limited.
Hmm.
You
Yeah.
you don't know. Most of the times you get by from door deals and stuff like that. Not to mention, the whole way the industry is shaped, and the way that they look
Hmm.
at the musical scenes and how they define them, and that's also, it's really hard. But despite all that, and despite the even if it's not my if it isn't my day job, and even if it will never be, it always has to be an important part. It always has to be present in my life. It's it's actually as simple as that.
Yeah. No,
It's
I think.
basically it. I mean, it's the love. Yeah, I know this is very cliched, but it's kind of like it's the my love for music that keeps me going in
Yeah.
the end of the day.
Yeah. I think. Well, it's felt in your music.
Hmm.
Um, let's listen to another track
Yeah,
from
yeah,
the album.
yeah.
This is called Pause. Another beautiful track called Pausa. And I guess my last question of our little interview is about the inspiration. I know it's a little bit of a cliche question. Everyone asks this, but I guess I want to hear what's the music you listen to that inspires you, or what made you make this music. And also, I would love to share, for you to share the track with
Yeah,
us
yeah.
um, after this.
Well, even though, like I said, I try to get a lot of references, I think what pushed me in this, for many years now, I've been very influenced by texture, like music, not so much. So there's an importance about pitch and harmony that I also try to make it present. But for me, texture and rhythm are are basically the elements that are really impacting me in right now. So
Mhm.
there's like this. So that's why maybe the this record and this repertoire that I've been making in the last few years tends to be more ambient like, so to say, if we have to label it in a way, nah?
Love it.
But basically, I've been listening to well, it's not just so much as what I've been listening, but yeah, but in this particular element, like inspiring me, there are some guitarists from the folk scene, I contemporary, I can name some American ones, Steve Gunn or I don't know, or John Fahey in a more way back kind of way
Hmm.
to make these kinds of references. So, or even from for example, Brazil is always making like really interesting and and straightforward music that it's highly inventive, it's highly creative, and I will also say like this guitarist that called Kiko Dinucci. He's the guitarist for he was the guitarist for Elza Soares when she released the
Hmm.
Mulher no Fim do Mundo. And I love what he's doing. He did recently an album, an acoustic album, which is it's very simple. I like the what I like about some of these guitarists, and I also like to mention Guilherme Gonçalves. He was in Gala Drop, and his playing also influenced me a lot. It's the way that they do this kind of stuff that it's inventive at the same time. It's very how can I put this? The kind of compositional method, they don't have to complicate that much, in regard to the notes and progressions and stuff like that. But the music is still very engaging and very creative, and the whole thing of less is more. I've been so that's one of the aspects. The less is more. I love this because most of the times when they do have this approach, they also tend to be very melodic. They don't complicate that much, but at the same time, it's very rich in a melodic way. And that's one of the things that I also, even though I've been very into textural music. There's like in ambient music, of course, there's the melodic element, but in this kind of in experimental music in general, sometimes they don't prioritize that. It's just the sonic experience, and I wanted to bring because there's this. There's one side of me that loves, this left field music and experimental music, the way of, okay, let's approach this in unconventional levels. Thinking about textures and sonic elements,
Yeah.
it's not like a very popular thing to say,
Yeah. Yeah.
in
Yeah.
pop music, but there are some people in pop music that do this and at the same time retain the melodic elements. So there's the side of me that loves, like pop songs and stuff like that, and to unite those two are what ended up, you know, what ended up defining the repertoire that I'm doing. And there's also particularly again, like using references that are not that contemporary but still are, because they are still active, but the whole 90s scene from Chicago, you know, listening to people like to projects like Tortoise, because they are very rich in a rhythmic level. They you know, they they do rhythmic explorations that are amazing,
Mm-hmm.
and very textural, but at the same time they have a sense of melody and simplicity that is so engaging, and that's one of the things that they really influenced me a lot in, even if we don't share, like if I don't end up bringing that whole, you know, the way they approach the electronics and stuff like that, but the whole thing of, you know, being rhythmically rhythmically creative, and at the same time having melodies that are simple and engaging, that kind of contrast, so to
Mm-hmm.
say,
Yeah.
is very appealing to me, and that's one of the names. Another one of the names, and that's the name that that I'm going to show, is also from the Chicago scene of the 90s,
Mm-hmm.
is Jim O'Rourke, and he also has that kind of approach, because it's like it's what the it's the original wave of post rock before it ended up like in the late 90s, the whole thing of like three guitars and climaxes and all that. You
Yeah.
know, it ended up being like carbon copies of each other, but the post rock from Chicago, what they called post rock in that day, those days, it was really much this. It was like exploring different kinds of languages within the rock context,
Mm-hmm.
and you know, emphasizing textures and rhythms. And he's another name of that Chicago scene that I really like. And also in his particularly referring to him, because Tortoise is like a band, you know, but he plays Jim. He plays mostly with uh, he can play with electronics and at the same time play with guitar and with classical and acoustic guitar. So there's this folk element that also influenced me, because the moment I start to play classical guitar, the folk element is there, obviously. So this is the track that I am going to show. It's called Bad Timing, and it has most of these elements. You know, the contemplative element and the melodic simplicity, which is engaging at the same time. And I think it's a, a good way to express the kind of influences that I had for this record.
All right.
Yeah,
Let's hear from Mr. Jim O'Rourke.
yeah.
Gorgeous. Gorgeous. Thank you for sharing this, and thank you for sharing a little bit about your world, about you as a musician. I think it's one thing to hear a beautiful sound and a beautiful song, but it's always very interesting to understand the world behind it. And I'm definitely a reference person. I love a good reference, and you've shared so many beautiful things and things that inspired you, and it was really a pleasure to have you here, Spencer.
Thank you so much. It's
Yeah.
also a great, not only a great opportunity, but I really love like engaging in these kinds of
Yeah.
conversations. I
Ah,
think it was really laid back and yeah, and I
thank you.
really enjoyed it. Thank you
Thank you.
so
Thank
much.
you. And I know you have a little gig, right, in Cosmos in
Uh,
April?
Yeah, it's still we are still closing the exact date, but yeah, in April, and I will also have another date in Beja very soon, and hopefully some others will also be confirmed in I don't know in the in the next weeks. In the hopefully hopefully I will have some more shows before the summer, because for me it's really important now that I have this record out here to keep it going,
Hmm.
especially because I'm already working on new tracks, and some of them I will try to present these new tracks in the next concerts. You know, I'm still obviously still focusing on this record, but
Yeah.
I'm really looking forward to already debut some new tracks live, and stuff that it's kind of like in the same universe, but with some maybe some slight differences. Because for me, I like I said before, I don't like to stay in the same place,
Hmm.
but yeah, but I'm really looking forward to it, to the concerts, and to debut new stuff, and maybe record the next record very soon.
Yeah. I hope so too.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Spencer. It was a pleasure.
Okay. Thank you so much as well.
Thank you. And I'm gonna end the show with a track from Merope called Rana.
Lelio moirana tu karavot amargasai tu anos cres amarios ma ya tegere amaru andenyo a tegeres pabro Pabrogavis paklausykit. Lelio mairana tu karvut siemargasai. Tu nos cres kiemarusna. Atsigeria kiemarių vandeniu. Atsigėręs pabruko akyje. Atsigeria kiemarių vandeniu. Atsigėręs pabruko akyje. Pabrogavis paklausykit.